National Assembly.
Welcome back. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. And we continue pace with the conversation regarding the Finance Act 2023. Very interesting editorial cartoon today in the Daily Nation, according to Victor. And we can see the Finance Act 2023, Okiya Omtata now is holding the president by the hand, dragging him to the Supreme Court. You can see how the doors have been opened, beginning with the Appeal Court, it went to the High Court, and now it's going to the Supreme. That's how this case has been escalating after we had the conservatory orders yesterday from the courts, right, seeking the Apex Court to constitute a bench of judges to look into this matter right now. And before we took a short break, I promised we shall hear from Senator Boni Khalwale. I've created a FaceTime with him this morning, who is a majority whip in the Senate. Also, we have with us Dan Mazo, who is a senator for Makueni. Also, we have Beatrice Elachi, member of parliament, Dagoretti North, and also Isaac Maura, a politician. Isaac, I'm conflicted. Do I still call you a CS?
Don't because call me CS because that is in court.
That is still unconstitutional.
Yeah. Until we get a stay or whatever, let us wait.
But all of us here have been in National Assembly and also in Senate.
In Senate, yes. Amazingly. Boni Khalwale, let's hear from you.
You know, at the beginning I told you that this is academic. It is academic and drama. What Kenyans are expecting from this case is far from what is on the table for determination. What is before the judges for the determination is the role of the Senate, as in Article 96, vis-a-vis the role of the National Assembly in Article 95. So the courts are going to determine, they're going to read for us and interpret for us the role of the Senate and the role of the National Assembly. So, if the courts say that the Senate has a role in budget making and therefore finance bill, that is when we will find the Finance Act at fault. We have been on these streets for many years, and I'm glad all these colleagues of mine have been in both houses. They know that the Senate has no history whatsoever of participating in the finance bill that gives birth to the Finance Act. But let us give it to the judges. The judges will make a pronouncement. When I look at Senator Omtata, I feel very sorry for him. He's a very inexperienced politician. He's been in parliament for 8 months. And by the 7th month, he had taken, no, not the 7th, in the 6th month, he had already taken parliament to court, forgetting that he's in a higher platform of articulating issues, higher than going to court to litigate. Like the issue on which he is interested, nothing stops Omtata from moving an amendment, a proposal for an amendment to the Constitution so that Article 95 and 96 are made clearer if he wants Senate to be participating in budget making, then he should make that proposal and go through the usual process of doing it. He's run away from that national platform. He's going to hide in litigation. Why? Because that is his profession. The people who are prompting him actually support his NGO, whatever it is, CBO, financially, and therefore he's in business. He is not working for Wanjiku. He's not working for Katiala. He's not working for IGN. At all, he's pushing personal agenda. We know them. The same, my colleague is here, Senator Manzo. When it becomes hot in the Senate, they run away instead of sitting in the Senate and debating with us as it should be. So why they run away from this platform and used to go and hide in courts? Some of the courts, the decisions they have made, with probably just 3-4 people, so long as both parties are represented, then monumental issues are made. But we are not in a hurry. As I've said at the beginning, we will wait and see the full process go on, and then a decision is made, and we'll live with it. Finally, but not least, Omdata, if you don't like being a senator, you want an opportunity to be in a house that participates in budget making, you had the opportunity to become the MP of either Teso North or Teso South. Nobody forced you to be the senator of Busia.
But we should not really latch. Okay, he's not here to defend himself, so I won't allow you to actually to incriminate him.
You can see he's dragging the president to court, and the president was not in court. So I am free to address him when he's not here, just like he's dragging the president to court.
He's personified there, so it's not really the character itself, the character himself that we can see in the general pages.
Dibal, this is a serious contribution and appeal to the senator, because matters of finance are matters of life and death.
But you know, it will be very unfair for you as well to cherry pick this particular issue of the National Assembly and the Senate as a big picture on this particular finance bill, because it's not only
it is not.
As Senator Dan Manzo has alluded to it, this is an omnibus, and that is just a teeny tiny.
Dibal, I'm not cherry picking. I'm doing what we call in English speaking to the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter in court is exactly what I have said. The moment you remove that, then that thing cannot stand in court, because he has been driven by that concern that let me hide behind the fact that it did not go to the Senate for me to be heard. And he's being heard.
No. But would we have also been flying with the fact that also the Senate, going from the previous sittings that we've had in Parliament, you've been passing this particular finance bill in air? And this will be the right time that Omtata maybe will come and course correct it, because it has been an illegality all through the time that you've been sitting as Senate, beginning with the Senate election. Yes, because you have you've not really debated it, but we're saying the National Assembly. But you should have been debating this particular bill from the beginning.
As they say, let them gather the hay while the sun is still shining. It will soon be raining, and you'll find that that drama is over. Government is big, so big that a decision to pass a bill like the finance bill cannot be a route of decision. There are consultations upon consultations at his level, and below him, when it comes to the National Assembly and Parliament, people are even given an opportunity to do public participation, which was done. So that's not a big deal. Let the academic exercise come to an end.
Right. So you want to allude to the fact that it's purely academic, so we're going just through the motion, that there's nothing discernible different that come out from there?
There's something I must correct before it goes away. Let my brother Maura allow me. It's something I must correct. First of all, just like any Kenyan is free to approach the National Assembly or Parliament or Senate to resolve any matter, any Kenyan is also free to go to court. Any Kenyan to go to court and plead a matter of public interest.
Including Omtata.
Including Omtata. So what Omtata did was perfectly, and he started, he said, what do you have in your hand? You know, David, a stone. You are saying government is so big. Goliath was so big. But David, with a stone, brought him down. Now Omtata is so small, and by holding the constitution, he's able to freeze the government so that the government can do the right thing. And I think we should go through this. You know, one of the mischiefs, the Division of Revenue Bill or Act first goes to National Assembly. Then it comes to Senate. Because its Division of Revenue Bill deals with the devolved functions. But first, it is first debated at the National Assembly. And luckily everybody here on this table, including you, Dibal, in the future, has been National Assembly.
Very
It
interesting.
has been in Senate.
Headed there.
So they understand it so well, what happens there. So some questions must really come. But even that's not the main question why Omutata is in court. The court is, one of the main things is this increase from 8% to 18%, a double. And again,
To 16%.
Yes, to 16%, 8 to 16. And also, that so-called public participation. All these people have gone to court and have gone to support Omutata were in public participation. They are claiming that whatever they contributed, whatever their input was never listened to. Finally, Parliament has become a rubber stamp of the president. Finally, everything has to be done by majority. Of course, majority have their way, and the minority have their say. But the way Parliament is running, and I've been in Parliament for many years, I'm surprised. This time round, we come up with good debates, and the Honorable Alwala is a very reasonable man and is a very good debater. But finally, the leader of majority says, we have a political party position. And even all the motions, which are very well meaning, are dropped. Everybody is now told, drop your motion, we can't amend, sorry. The boss has said, please, let the House do its work. The president cannot carry the brains of all members of Parliament. It cannot be, a rubber stamp. We must allow Kenyans also to advise the president. Otherwise, he'll end up being dragged by a small person like Omutata. And he's such a Goliath from one court to another for eternity.
All right. Let's say from Isaac Mwaura, because the whole debate as well under this Finance Act is the fact that even after public participation, that we've gone through the rigmarole, there were clauses which were sneaked in. And these are the clauses also I want to hear from Dan Mazo. Which are these clauses that they were not really in the original Finance Act or bill that was sneaked in?
So, if I go
which
that
flies
way,
in the face
I'll
of
be going
public
to the merits
participation?
Of the case,
Okay,
and I know my brother,
We'll pick up issues, yeah.
We'll take serious issues with him, and I'll be wrong in the court. I don't
But,
want
could
to
you-
appear
could you-
next in court. And the first thing, I am contemptuous, just like the way
I'm
the
trying to help
EPR
you. You are not hearing.
The way the EP, so don't push me to be contemptuous. Just that the people should be in jail. The EPRA. EPRA should be in jail, and they'll be the first tackle when the High Court convenes.
No, I think I've listened to Dana Manzo. First and foremost, there is no David and Goliath in this whole issue. Omutata is a court poet. He's been there forever. In fact, he made a career.
He's a court poet.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
If you look at the number of cases that Omutata has sponsored, whether him directly or sponsored to, facilitated to go on behalf of others, there are many. If you want somebody to go to court, the person to go to is Okia Omutata Okoiti.
You pay.
You pay him. And he does a good job because he's a Kenyan. And we respect him, by the way. He's actually been able to, at some point, but some courts have made very progressive rulings, but he's lost many of them as well. It's also good to say that. And I don't want to attack the person of Omutata because I respect him. But on this one, I beg to differ. Because, first and foremost, I strongly believe, because Dan Manzo is only using the court to shield his assertion, there's nothing contemptuous about him explaining to us how the Finance Act can be within the jurisdiction of the Senate. All of us have been in the Senate before, we have been senators. I don't think Senate has got anything to do with money bill, apart from two bills, the Division of Revenue and the CARA, County Allocation of Revenue Act, the CARA bill. Those two, yes, but any other, no. Why? Because those are bills concerning counties. Now, in terms of the statutes that are supposed to have been amended through the Finance Act, that are actually not in consonance with the Senate, again, we want to see, so that we see whether, are they substantively money bills, or are they just procedural issues that would facilitate a revenue-raising measure? That's also debatable. Is it because a law says this, that then it impedes government from getting the 311 billion, or is it purely a question of money? Because how can you, I don't think the Finance Act has gone ahead to raid the preserve of where counties get monies from. That one I don't think so. And if that is the case, if that has happened, then it's a glaring anomaly that of course needs to be flagged out. And I was expecting, therefore, that the Senate, Omutata would have said this clause offends the separation of powers between the two levels of government. But anyway, we have not been in court. But I personally cannot really say with certainty that is the case. But also going forward, I think we have to ask ourselves a question. This is a very fundamental question. There are checks and balances between the three arms of government, and of course the kind of fourth arm of government, which are the constitutional commissions and independent offices. At what point can we be legislating all of the time? When you talk about public participation, there was the Amos Wako bill, actually the predecessor of Mtata. I don't know how far it went. I need to refresh my mind. But what is the threshold of public participation? Does it mean because you have 100 people who have come and said Mwaura should not take this cup of tea, that then because of them being 100, Mwaura is wrong when he's alone? At what point do we say this X number of memoranda are the ones that are sufficient enough to say that we should not proceed? You know, what is the role of Parliament in actually exercising its authority to vote? Because you can have some few lobbyists around town whose only role is to make sure that they oppose whatever they think is unpopular to them. I mean, so that is really a very unclear area. I think I hear Senator Manzo saying that President cannot think on behalf of members of Parliament. President has never thought on behalf of members of Parliament. What happens is that they are sponsoring political parties and or coalitions.
He said he cannot purport. I think it's also important to put it in context.
Okay, no, that's
Yes,
fine. But
please.
the import of it is that, Reval, that someone somewhere is controlling the strings from behind the scenes. The truth of the matter is there's a party position. If that is a party position, you know, it doesn't matter how much you debate. Somebody once told me, you can wax eloquence, but you're not going to change anything. The point is, eventually, whatever debate that happens, people have to put it to a vote. Even in court, like in our CAS case, there were 3 judges. 2 said that we were unconstitutional. 1 said we were constitutional. You see, it was a question of a vote. It's a question of a decision. So by the end of the day, members of Parliament also have an agenda to deliver. And one of the things that, of course, we knew when Kenya Kwanza government came to power is that there will be no money in the coffers. Really, the coffers were empty. So this is an act to make sure that money is there to deliver services to Kenyans. If you look at the budget, it is very, very progressive. 250 billion for roads, 141 billion for health, 5 billion for a fertilizer program, another 15 billion extra for health. You have another 3 billion for markets, 181 markets that are yet to be finalized. All of these and many others are now going to be stalled, because if you don't get money from here, it means that then you have to borrow. So I think let us look at it as a question of, are we also sabotaging government just because we don't agree with it? You know, look at it that way, because where is government going to get money from? It can only get from us or from borrowing. So I think, and the delay, you know, a government takes about 24 months to deliver, to set things right. By the 3rd year, we all know, all of us are politicians, have run for office, you start politicking. Then you start saying people do not deliver. So for me, I see a wider scheme, political scheme, to make sure that you tie the feet of President Ruto's government so that it doesn't deliver. Then you go back to Kenyans and say, Niliwaambia. That one we are very alive to. And the best way to do it, because President Ruto committed himself that he's going to follow the rule of law, is to use the same courts to stop him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. So Kenyans are not refuting, actually. There's no refutation on paying taxes. We need to be clear, maybe on this particular panel as well. The question is, why would we be paying exorbitant taxes that are not justifiable in the first place? And I raised this question when we began this particular program. Boni Khalwale picked it and said, of course, of all things, 2 things are certain in this life: taxes and death. Yes, we will pay our taxes. But what is not certain is higher taxes which are not justifiable. And this is a question I've raised, and I wanted also to hear from us. That you mentioned Benjamin Franklin, right? With that particular notion of taxes and death. But I raised the issue, why are we paying the VAT tax that is so high than the US and South Africa?
The conversation.
Because,
the conversation.
Just a moment, I just advanced my question and cleared my throat as well.
And I start before he comes in.
Because everything rises and falls with fuel prices.
Exactly.
And if we're paying higher taxes than even US and South Africa, we want to know and be told, why are we doing this in the first place? Because it is rising exponentially. You mentioned also, in defense of Okiya Omtata, that if He's a legislator. He should not be an activist in court. He should come and articulate this issue on the floor of the House, right? In Parliament. But how will we articulate this issue in Parliament if he is not in the National Assembly? Because this is a money bill, as you say. He's not been given that opportunity to actually tackle this finance bill because it is a remit of the National Assembly. Let's Beatrice, you'll answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, first, thank you, Dibal. First, I just want to say this now to my senators. You see, one of the things we need to agree and accept that in the making of this constitution, while at that time the senators, those who were there, all of them were in National Assembly, thought they were doing good to themselves, creating the Senate, and refusing to give it its powers as it was supposed to be because they thought they will wake up and find a Senate like in the US.
Are we back on that?
No, I want to. Then I go now.
We will not come out from this show.
No, let me finish the ban. That one, we agreed it was wrong. And so if you want to come this other side, the way I have done, is to make now the money. But having said that also, it is important for us to accept as a country. And this is something I have said, I don't know how many times, that you cannot look at how the world is, that every country is in a crunch. Every country is really struggling. And every country has accepted one thing called the pandemic of COVID, killed the countries. And then you come and revive everything. And you want to do them at a one set like 100 meters. It can't. And that is what Kenyans are saying, Dibal. They are saying we are ready to pay our taxes. They are saying we feel very unfortunate to have a country where everywhere we go and turn, people are saying we have loans and debts and that we want to pay. And by the way, if someone can just put down the debt properly and tell Kenyans in a good paper that you see we have a debt for London this, we have a debt for China this, Kenyans will accept and say we want to start clearing. But they want to see as they clear, where is the paper that shows a financial statement that gives them hope that we are now reducing debt, which no government has ever done. Even the last regime, even they have never agreed to show Kenyans, this is how we have reduced the debt of Standard Gate. This is how we have reduced, and that is why Kenyans are saying, if indeed the Constitution agreed, you must be accountable, you must be transparent. That is what Kenyans are pushing, that one day they will see us as Parliament giving, and Treasury, giving a statement to the country and having a day to say, this is a day we are talking about our debts, and these are our debts. The taxes you have removed, we have now paid 1, 2, 3, and we are back to 9.9 trillion. We are moving to 8. Kenyans will never have an issue. Kenyans have this issue. We walk into government, in 3 months, people have just changed their lifestyle. Instant. And everyone believes right now, it is in government where you can change your life. With which money? Taxpayers' money. That's where the pain starts. Then now, we have come, and even not creating awareness to our own Kenyans to understand, even in this finance bill, not many people are understanding. The repercussion we are saying in this, especially on the fuel, is that as much as the judge has stopped and everything, but trust me, the fuel has gone up. Kenyans, because we like, I said it when I started, we like using very good shortcuts to make ourselves wealthy. Those in those manufacturing companies, they don't care. Fuel has gone up, they are going to raise everything because you've already raised that fuel. And it is very unfortunate that even as we speak, that we are in court and all that, the pump is just there and nobody feels anything. You see, that's the bitterness because if the courts have said, if government has respected, why would those in the fuel industry respect?
Contempt of court.
That's a contempt, absolutely. And it's very unfair. And because, why do we do that? We say, in Kenya, they will say and it will just move. You know that attitude. That is why they have done that. And so for me, I would wish to say, we would wish to pay our debts. That one we are 100%. Nobody would. We are ready to be taxed. But we are ready also to see accountability in all this. And therefore, it is not fair at all to any Kenyan right now to say they are able. Do you know why they are crying? So we came into and we raised NHIF, we raised NSSF. Any company that was paying 10 million for their workers to NSSF, it just went 20 million. But we forgot. It is okay. One thing you have to understand, as we are smart in survival. What are we going to do, Deban? Change everyone into contracts. We will now lose this money, which we've been collecting. We have stopped now in employment, which we are saying we don't have. Because this Kenyan is feeling, this person with a company is asking himself, why would I just add 20 million? Then the best is to retrench. And they will start doing that. So instead of even having the revenue you are thinking you are going to collect, you are going to lose more revenue in all this. And that's why I'm saying, if you have raised NSSF, fine. Then give them a breather to have. Why can't we just do like the East African countries? Raise our VAT to 18% and then hold or let it work within all these other small revenues. Because if you put all these revenues together in an honest way, you'll find your VAT will be very high. Because you walk into a restaurant and just have a feast of just 2,000, 3,000. Look at the tax when they're giving you the receipt. You realize already, they have already raised, because everything has gone back to the consumer. And that's why we were pleading. I am still pleading. This was something that was not supposed to go to the court. It was something we needed to agree. And one of the things I want to request, even the majority leader is here of Senate. There's one thing we have to believe in as a country. Fine, you won't want to work or talk with His Excellency the Prime Minister. That's okay. But you can talk with Parliament, because that is where also their representatives are. And have a way.
Thank you.
Because what they have done, you find Parliament is like a place of war, where this are said, and we are all doing it for the good of our country. We are all doing it for Kenya to thrive. We are doing it for the same government to thrive. And why does it thrive? It thrives so that you and me can find a better Kenya for our children. So this thing of every time we have to go into a battle, it's like we are still in a campaign. It's because of how each of us, and I want to beg the men of this country, the ones leading us, this battle of words is not helping our country, Kenya. We as women, we are saying, you can sit on the table and discuss some of these things. We can't just continue like this, Kenyans are suffering.
Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable Mboni Khalwale, we have British Elachi also raising a very pertinent issue on, especially on the issue of debt, how it has been a moving target. We up to now have not been given that particular schedule of how the loan has been serviced, how it's been going down. And this is not an issue just she's raising. It's an issue also the Auditor General has raised, that even up to now, we don't have the exact figure on the debt that we're paying as a country. And I found that to be very worrying. If it's a moving target, and even the Auditor General herself, she has no sorting idea what we are paying as a country. Don't you find that to be disturbing, you as a senator and also a part of government? So that
naturally,
yes,
naturally it is disturbing the ball. But why do people borrow? Why do governments borrow?
No.
They borrow because they want to bridge the gap.
Indeed, but we want to know the figure that we're borrowing, because shrouded in that ambiguity is the fact that now we have people stealing. And also you have now these lives which are being bankrolled, and we have no idea how some of the even NHIF receptionists, they have mansions and expanse of land in this country. Why do you have even a conflict bill right now on the floor of the House? Because of transparency. It begins when we don't have clarity even on how much we are borrowing and how much we are servicing and how much we've paid.
Precisely what I want to speak to. We borrow as people, and as government because we want to bridge the gap. If that gap was not there, if we were living within our means, we would not need to borrow. Which brings me to my most important comment. Namely, given what I said about President Benjamin Franklin, that hate it, like it, death and taxation is a must. The debate should never, ever be whether we should pay taxes or not, which is what these papers are trying to teach Kenyans.
No, which we are all in agreement.
Yes. The debate should be, and that is now the debate of leadership, should be how then do we use those taxes? And is what Beatrice has spoken to. Pay for it. I can assure you, in the estates, if you are asked to pay slightly more than what you pay for collection of garbage, and then every morning you wake up, you find there is no garbage, the estate is clean, the children are playing around, no single person in that estate will complain. If it is for water, and you find that every time you turn on the tap, water is flowing, nobody will complain. Same to electricity, same to the roads, same to hospitals. On this phone, I have a text that came on my phone at 2 a.m. last week from the General Hospital in Kakamega, where the nurses, very senior nurse, I was working with her before I quit medicine. She's telling me we have had enough. This patient has come. She's been asked to pay to buy gloves, catheters, whatnot, before they go to theater, which is an emergency operation, and they have somehow succeeded. However, she has been denied an opportunity to go to theater because she has not paid for theater fee. That is a question of management. So, if we were treating our people with respect, then the money that was borrowed, Eurobond, that was borrowed, SGR, we would have accounted for it. But because that accounting is not there, people have become overnight billionaires. You know the cases of the COVID millionaires. Relatives of the former president were there. They were named. He even gave us a deadline of 21 days. But nothing came out of it. So, matters of governance should not be used, governance failure should not be used to attack something which is life and death, like people paying taxes.
Indeed.
And you make it look like it is a Ruto issue. I tell you, the storm will come. It is going to. Raila is not going to be walking on foot from his house to town every day. It's going to come. When it comes down, it will be the Kibaki moment. And she was there. You were there. Much more, you were there. Kibaki changed Kenya by simply saying, let us pay our taxes, and said, let's manage our taxes. And the economy grew. Ruto is on the right path. And we are supporting him because we are clear that that is the way to go. If we continue borrowing at the expense of repeating what many have said, we are continuing to dig a hole that is obviously bottomless. When His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka takes over, hopefully in 2032, my brother will be the first person to push that Kalonzo collects taxes so that he can implement his manifesto.
That Manzo will be the Attorney General. Advising.
And you try to take the finance bill of Kalonzo Musyoka, the first one to court, the Attorney General Maondo will be the one defending it in court. So, I am happy that this debate is taking place now, and we are going to emerge wiser, and the economy is going to be better. Because you have raised the issue of the post-corona economy that has affected the whole world.
Yeah.
You are right. You should have added that we also have the global challenge of negative climate change. Negative climate change hit this country, like most sub-Saharan countries, more than anywhere else in the world. You should also have added that we have the war and conflict in Ukraine.
No, that one you guys never agreed on it. But anyway, now
But
that
everyone-
you,
and
but I'm saying-
those
why am I saying that? I'm
externalities-
saying that
those
so that-
externalities,
yes, so
everyone
that
has been subjected to
we
them.
look at it, and that is why you should not raise that fuel like that. That's all I'm saying. That you must look at all those issues, and remember, you must put Kenya on a map where people can breathe as they pay those taxes.
Indeed.
They will pay taxes. They have not said no. They have said you stagger, you move. As the country grows, as you say, then you put in, and you put in to the end.
Right.
You know we are 18% still, but you'll have given them some.
A breather.
Let us breathe first the NSSF thing. We are still breathing. Not NHIF. NSSF, they just did double. NHIF, which people are crying, let's make these things function, then now get the money. Because if they are not functioning, and we are just getting money, and you are going to hospital somebody cannot use. I'll say this, Dibal. Yesterday I went to a hospital, a hospital that has been helping so many people, especially children homes. Every children home used to work in Medhill to be supported their children, and it worked. And I want to plead with government. While you have an issue with the person who was there who was political, I think the hospital has its management. Let's not kill the hospital because of this one person. Let us assist, because it has been helping. So right now, I can see many people are also going to a hospital. I have never gone. But this is a person who never cares about Kenyans. But you have said that is the place where you will take your Kenyan money, our taxes. A person who doesn't do any social corporate programs is where you have decided. Yet the hospital that has been doing so many social corporate programs across the country, we've decided, those are things we are saying, yes, we can have issues, but let's not kill our institutions. This is a hospital that carries more than 3,000 families, but you're about to tell it to go home. So where are they going? So if we have personal issues, let's not put it in an institution and take the institution.
Right, thank you.
But the debate is just between Honorable Alwale and...
Let's hear from Dan Mazo.
Proceed with the court now.
Let's hear from Dan Mazo, because we want also to, unless you have anything to add on this, but I wanted to ask a question on the transparency, especially on the issue. The president, when he was on the campaign trail, he spoke quite movingly and said, you know, we've never been transparent as far as SGR is concerned. But when I come to power, we will put all those contractual agreements in public for anyone to really observe and see this is the agreement that we made with the Chinese. And I think also that suffered a bit of a setback because of NDC, the non-disclosure agreement on that. But still, we have issues which are being raised, even on fuel right now, because I want to pick up what Mashara Gado has actually raised on page 17 of the Daily Nation. If we may just head there, because still there was this agreement that we're trying to have a government-to-government agreement on how we're going to pare down on the cost of fuel. And he says that, let me try and retrieve that so that we can read it together with the viewers. President William Ruto either lied to Kenyans or he was a victim of lies by key officials in his government. That is the only conclusion one can draw if Kenya is indeed seeking to renegotiate terms of the oil import deals with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates as first payment under the 6 months credit loan. It was only in March that President heaped lavish praise on the officials who crafted the government-to-government arrangement, singling out Energy Cabinet Secretary David Chitri, Council of Economic Advisors Chair David D, and a member Mohammed Hassan, and Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General Daniel Kipto. The president said the quartet had done something phenomenal in putting together a program that has taken us away from looking for $500 million every month to buy our fuel needs, which was snowballing into a crisis. Today, we can buy fuel in Kenya's shilling, which nobody thought was possible. This is what the president. He went on to claim that the arrangement will ease pressure on the plummeting shilling, which he confidently asserted will, in the following 2 months, strengthen to between 115 shillings and 120 to the US dollar from the then prevailing high of around 140. It was not to be. This has never been realized. Even then, there was red flags raised that the deal, which bypassed established oil importation mechanism, was not as good as it sounded. First, it was clear to everyone that there was no way the Saudi and Emirati oil exporters will take payment in Kenyan shillings. Well, it goes on and on, but we were just talking about this particular agreement, the government to government, that is not subjected to public participation. And we know as well, even the port of our ports as well, they are being privatized to be run by private entity. There has not been any avenue for public participation. These are public assets. So the question we are raising on transparency and all these things that are being subjected, how then are we, if what Elachi was saying, we need transparency and clarity, what are the avenues that we should be using? Especially, let's just begin with you, Senator Dan Mazu.
You have been abandoning Maura all the time.
No. Maura had checked out a bit, so now yes. it is your turn. We'll come to him.
Yes, so first of all, you see the heading of Gaido's title is "Do Not Trust Snake Oil Salesmen Fueling Lie Over Petroleum Deal." And you know, first, before I go on with this, first, from what Honorable Arwale said, there's no need to drag President Uhuru into these debates, especially when he's not present to defend himself. And secondly, governments enjoy perpetual succession. We also know that President Ruto had a very big stake in the previous government, and other than some political or technical hitches, he was part and parcel of running the previous regime. So I think we should not lay blames on anyone. We need to handle problems as they are now. And Kenyans, first and foremost, are ready to pay taxes. I personally am ready to pay tax. But when I pay tax, I want to know that the monies I've paid so honestly are safe and are going to work for me. And the Constitution is very important. We have currently, seen a trend of ignoring the Constitution. I know President Ruto never supported the 2010 Constitution, and I don't think he still agrees with it. That's why we have seen presidential orders and even legal, bills, which tend to amend the Constitution from the back. So first of all, we want to all of us subject ourselves to the power of the current Constitution, even when we don't agree with it, so that we subject ourselves to the Constitution, but not abusing the Constitution through and through. The Constitution demands public participation on serious matters like this. When you are talking about a petroleum deal which is going to put down the cost of fuel in the country, and then you do not involve the experts of this country. There are certain people who are very good at public participation.
And that has not been realized. Yeah.
And Kenyans are very brilliant. We have serious economists in this country. If you allow public participation, they will make suggestions in writing. A lot of them do that. There are serious organizations, beginning with the Law Society of Kenya and the accountants. There are serious professional bodies who have a serious stake in this, and they always come in when we advertise public participation, even in the parliament. They bring in very serious input, because we in parliament and we in position of authority are not brighter or better than the many Kenyans who have elected us. There are very many brilliant Kenyans who are out there, more brilliant than the president, more brilliant than any member of parliament. And they have humbled themselves and allowed us to lead them, while their suggestions come in during public participation. So I think that particular deal, there was no public participation. It has now gone quiet. It has become a snake oil salesman business. And we are not getting anything out of it. And there are, the parastatals, the seller parastatals, The management of the ports, that's where the money is at. Even the management of oil industry is in the hands of who? Very close friends of the president. And this is where the major deals are done. This is where financial mismanagement is at the top helm and is going unchecked. So we have something which has gone very wrong, as much as we are being promised paradise by the current government. Something is so seriously wrong and can be dealt with by the House, which has become a rubber stamp, so eliminate the House. So with the three centers of power, equally empowered by the people of Kenya, then now the hope is in judiciary. If the judiciary is not twisted too, and if judiciary is twisted, parliament is twisted, then we have anarchy in the country, and we are going to have the worst rule since independence in the current regime. So we really want to see not the nastiness we see with the president and his deputy. They are supposed to be the most humble people in the country, executing the mandate of the people, because although it is debatable whether they are in power correctly, the people will soon determine in 2027. So we really want to see transparency.
All right.
How can you look at the forest issue? We are all trying to conserve forests. We are in the climate era time. Then you make a public announcement amending regulations and the laws.
We'll come to that.
On the podium. And then you expect there to be a single forest left in this country? We should be planting the trees first before we cut them.
Right.
So there is a big problem in this country, and it is a high time the president and his deputy listened to Kenyans, listened to parliament.
Thank you.
But not twisting parliament.
We're due for a session break.
Equally I'm twisted as a leader, as a majority whip.
Okay. I need to take a short break.
But again,
Before you start,
participated at all.
hold your horses. Okay. Yeah. So we need to take a short break right now.
Maura has not participated at all. Halwale has grabbed everything.
You just invited me to your debate, as you should, you know.
All right, we take a short break right now, and we have actually the Law Society of Kenya has been very busy, and it seems the current regime is putting the Law Society of Kenya, also really under the gun as far as being serious and busy is concerned, because they're challenging also what Senator Dan Mazo is saying regarding the logging ban that was lifted by the president. And has the president also been speaking from both sides of the mouth if he's really a stalwart of climate change, as he has been in the spirit of Pan-Africanism as it is right now? Would we now be talking about the logging bans if we want also on the other side to really put up 300 billion trees or million trees? I'm not sure with the figures as well. I'll check out and get my facts right. On the other side of a break, we discuss a raft of issues regarding that logging ban as well, and also the 15 million signatures that is being sought by Azimio. Where are we heading with this, and what is up their collective sleeves as well? Don't go away.